Hotep, Brother Kamene.
Hotep to my brother Chris. How's everything going? And Hotep to my listening family.
Yeah, you got it. Everything is going well. And, we had this incident that happened here in the Western New York area last week with a white female who pretty much spewed all kind of expletives and just the N-word in a degrading kind of manner to a young man that was actually recording it. And, of course, it went viral all over the world. And so today, I wanted to talk about, the N-word and the origin, the etymology, just the context of what that word is and how it's used. And I know a lot of people are very uneasy with that word because of, what it was intended for back in the day when you talk about slavery, when you talk about the civil rights and that kind of thing. So I wanted to get you on the line and just give us just a straight up conversation about the word so that those who may not know or understand the origin of where the word came from and, where we find ourselves with that word today.
My brother Chris, one of the things that I've seen as a community, and then even as a human family, it's interesting how this particular word is probably one of the most peculiar words, if we want to call it that exists, and what it can engender in people. And the power of the word is very important. And what I've always attempted to do first and foremost is to understand that there should never be a word that anyone can use that would create the type of emotional response that particular word that we use has. And in studying the word and in looking at this word, it becomes very interesting as it relates to its origin. And one of the things that became so important to me as I moved through studying this particular word, again, let's just call it the N-word for now, so that everybody can understand that, is its origins. And when I talk about this word, I normally do not begin talking about this particular word. I normally begin talking about a woman by the name of Helene Blavatsky. She was a Russian woman who had traveled to Tibet in the 1800s. And she came upon a symbol, a very sacred symbol of Buddhism. This same symbol is all around the world. You can find it in many nations in Africa, amongst the Akan in Ghana. You can find it in what we today call Nigeria. You can even find it in ancient Egypt. You can find it amongst the American indigenous peoples. You find it all over the world. And it's a symbol of the yin. In China, it's, if you curve it, it's the yin and the yang. So this word, or this symbol, I should say, represented balance. It represented the male and female essence coming together in balance. It represented the elliptical galaxy. It represented the law of opposites, the law of complements. It had a very sacred meaning to it. Very sacred. However, when it was brought into Europe by Helene Blavatsky, it was picked up by a lieutenant in Germany. And as he rose through the ranks to become the leader of Germany, he emblazoned this sacred symbol on the flags of the country. He emblazoned it on arm shields. He emblazoned it on uniforms. He emblazoned it on buildings. He emblazoned the sacred symbol all over. And then he began to do evil things to people. The people who were treated this way, that sacred symbol became the symbol of their torment. And out of this sacred symbol, a man who thought in evil ways took a sacred symbol and made it evil. So that if I should be in a room and draw a swastika, people of German faith would be very offended and extremely emotional about having that symbol. They would not know about the sacred origins of the symbol. They would not care about the sacred meaning of the symbol. Because what their recollection, what their memory, what their hippocampus and their brain tells them is that their families and their generations were tormented and tortured and brought through great pain. In fact, anybody in World War II that saw the swastika emblazoned coming towards them would have similar memories. So a sacred symbol was made horrific and horrible by someone taking a sacred symbol and making it represent. It became the heraldic emblem, the symbol of the torture of people. Now, with that said, I'd like to return back to Africa during what we call the Punic Wars. The Punic Wars were wars that were waged between the northern Germanic tribes that are going to come down into the southern part of what we call Europe. These are the people that are eventually going to be called the Romans. The Romans in 200 BC, give or take, are going to come upon North Africans. And one of the main groups of people that the Romans are going to try to attack are a group that are living in an area that today is in North Africa, but the people we're talking about are the Phoenicians, an African people. These African peoples, the name for them from the Romans, they're going to call them Punici. Punici, P-U-N-I-C-I, is going to be their word for Phoenician. So they're going to start what's called the Punic Wars and go to war with Africans such as Hannibal Barca, whose son is going to take over the war. His name is Hannibal. He is going to be the one that crosses the Alps on elephants and all of the other pieces that are going to go into that. Now, the name that the Africans have, that within their culture, when the Romans asked them, well, who are you? How can we call you? They are going to have a word that comes from a sound. The sound is going to be Inger. Inger. The way we would break it down, it would be N-G-R, Inger. As we know, in the northern part of Africa, one of the titles of Haile Selassie and Menelik was Negus Negusti, the leader of leaders, the king of kings, the lord of lords. When you get into Egypt, you can take that T, and the T of the Egyptian word, Neter, the T can become a G, and it becomes Inger, which means the essence or the spirit of all things wonderful. And the reason why I say this is because the history of this word that's going to come out of the Latin language into what we call the Romance language, languages that are spoken in Romania, in Italy, France, Portugal, Spain, they're going to take the words that were put into the Roman vocabulary from these Africans, such as Inger. It's going to become Negro, Negro, Inger. All of these words are going to become symbols for darkness, dark complexion. It's going to be another word such as Ethiopian, which means dark complexion, dark skin. It's also going to be the word Moro or Maori, which is also going to be black or dark or dark. And it's going to be put into the language. When Spain now, with the Moors, with the Africans, this word now is going to move through its process from the word to Negro. Negro is going to come, and then the enslavement of African people, the British are going to take this word Negro, which in our generation, even in mine, was called Negro, and is going to be contorted by the so-called Europeans in America to become nigger. And that is a historical perspective of this word that we are talking about. Now, whether we like this word or not, the social context of the word, just as Adolf Hitler took a sacred symbol and did horrible things to people with this symbol representing what he was doing as a people, becomes a horrendous memory. what happened to African people, being called this word, is going to become a horrible experience. So now we are looking at this word. We are we are analyzing this word. But the bottom line is, I do not tell people that, like young people may say when I do a presentation, because there's a YouTube video where I'm talking to a brother by the name of Sarnetter about this word. There's another YouTube clip where I'm in my college, where I'm talking to the young students, the college students, about this word. And I've also mentioned it to other people and I am not giving anybody permission. I am not saying to use it, nor am I saying don't use it. That's not the point. We have to become a people who properly analyze ourselves so that we understand that if we choose not to use this word, understand why. But I want the elder generation to understand when the younger generation use this word, it is correct what they're saying. And it's important that we understand that in social context, a word like that was once sacred, that was dirty white supremacist people, can also be used as a term of endearment by a people who do not feel that anger. When a young brother says to another young brother, when he calls him the N-word, there is not that feeling between them that existed when somebody of European descent in the 1950s would have said that about an African American, let's say in Mississippi. The feeling is not the same, but the social context that's in our minds as an older generation, we are reminded of that experience, which was horrific. The same way people in World War II are reminded of what they and their families went through when they saw that symbol. Now, in this generation, when a person would address and use that word to an African American, particularly if they are not of the culture, and if in the context of the word they mean to be harmful to that person, to say something disrespectful, they then can't go back and say, well, you all use that word, so why can't I? Because you're not using it within the same context that the younger people are using it. And so this is basically what I'm trying to get our community to understand as it relates to this word, because I know that there is a derogatory term for every culture that exists on our earth. And here in America, with all these different cultures, why aren't those words being used? We know the words that we could say that would engender, that would bring out, that would evoke out of people hard feelings if they belong to that culture, and we call them that. They know. Why is that word the only word that is out here? Why is that word in the music of young peoples? Why have I heard people of European descent call each other that word? Why have I seen Koreans use that word to each other? Why is that word used so proficiently and so much in this country, and yet we still are haunted by its use? So I just want to present that information, and then whatever other conversation that may come out of this, my brother Chris, I'd be more than happy to talk about it. But what I'd like to do also is I'd like to recommend to our community that they look, that there is a essay that comes out of Race and History, News and Views. And they can look this word up. It is titled The Original Meaning of the, in quotes, N-word. And it's posted by a great scholar, Pianke Nubiyan. I'll spell it. PiankeNubiYang. It was posted on January 27th, 2002 at 12:50 p.m.
Hey, brother,
and he goes through the entire...
sorry, Brother Kaba. If you, they can find it at our website. It's on our website now.
Okay. Good.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but I got to take a quick break. And if you don't mind, give us about 6 or 7 minutes, and we'll come back and continue the conversation. Is that okay?
I'll be here, brother.
Okay, hang on for me. The People Station, 93.7 WBLK, Know Thyself Community Wednesday. And once again, we're talking about the N-word with Brother Kaba Hiawatha Kamene. And you had some more information for us, right, brother?
Yeah, my brother, what I wanted to express to the community, younger and elder, is the purpose behind why, why my interest is here, is not to tell people to use it or tell people never use it again. I just want us to understand history. Malcolm X taught us that one of the areas of study that would best benefit us would be history. And history and the study of words such as etymology opens up our minds to understand where words come from. And so if we understand the origin of the word, and if those who are listening go to your website and download that essay on the original meaning of the N-word, and they study it and they see it, make up, as Malcolm also taught us, you decide for yourself whether you wish to use it or whether you wish not to use it, but just know the history of this word, because it is just so important for us to understand. And as Dr. Leonard Jeffries, the great historian, teaches us, we must not have a paralysis in our analysis. And I think that this word has got us in a paralysis in an analysis that once we clear up by studying the history of the word, understanding the word, a great deal of our, and when I say our, I'm specifically speaking of people of African descent in general, but people of African American descent specifically, would be able to deal with the issues that surround this word, because with all of this information coming out, along with that young lady that you spoke about who used that word towards that gentleman, and also when you look at the other singers that are out here now, and I'm not going to call names because that's not what's important. And when you're looking at owners of basketball teams, and he really didn't even use that word. He just made reference to black people. But when you're looking at what's happening on the Clive and Bundy Ranch, and when you look at what happened in Las Vegas, where the two police were shot, police of European descent shot by people of European descent, and a SWAT sticker was thrown on one, and concepts of white supremacy, and then they said this is the beginning of a revolution. It gives you the idea of the immediacy of what we need to do as a people as it relates to this word. So I give this information only for us to know origins and history and the history of language, because that to me is very important. And I know that I will be with my brother Amun Rashidi this Sunday, and he has something planned as it relates to his program there on your radio station, my brother Chris, and also my wonderful sister, a sister who works very hard in the Buffalo community. Our elder, Eva Doyle, has invited me to come to Buffalo in September. So I'll be visiting the Buffalo community on Saturday, September 6th. I believe that there is a gentleman that started the first African-American newspaper in the Northeast there, and there is a museum dedicated to him, and that's where we'll be speaking. But I'm sure Sister Doyle will be getting out more information about this event. My brother Chris, I just thank you so much for this opportunity to share this information with you and to your listening audience. I bless and thank our audience for being on your A game at all times. Let's keep this work going. Let's study our history. Let's know who we are. And let's bequeath to our children a destiny that they were meant to have, because they are wonderful. Having worked with our children all my life, I just ask us, let's do for our children. Let's do for them what was done for us. And what was done for us is that the struggle continues, and it ain't over until we win. So thank you, Brother Chris, and I wish everyone peace and hotep.
Hotep, brother.